Okay, this isn't good. I know you have no idea who I am, have no reason to care, but my lovely wife Brenda and I got ourselves into kind of a sticky situation here. We just wanted to go shopping, gosh darn it, and now we're trapped in here. I think there are monsters. Oh God, this is horrible. I'm so scared, not just for my life, but for hers. And worst of all, why does it feel so oddly familiar? Okay. Gotta keep a cool head. How did this all begin? It'd been about a year since the incident. We don't like to talk about it much. My psychiatrist tells me that after I was kidnapped by that mysterious international criminal organization and kept in their clutches for 100 days, it's likely I repressed most of the memories to avoid the trauma. He told me it's an extremely common reaction. So common, in fact, that even Brenda can't fully remember the exact circumstances of my kidnapping. Just her immense gratitude when the FBI brought me home. Eventually, we moved out of our old place. Too many dark spots. Into a new apartment in a different town in a different state. You know, things were good until one day we realized we didn't have a coffee table. Now, who can live without a coffee table these days? So we decided to make our way to the local Ikea to buy a Crucible coffee table. Brenda wouldn't let me go alone. She never lets me out of her sight anymore since I was kidnapped. Neither of us had been to an Ikea in over a year, so naturally we found it easy to get lost in there. Those warehouses are confusing after all. But this time, it was different. We were lost for hours on end. We even started calling out for help, but we never got any reply. And after what must have been closing time, the overhead light shut off. Well, we were less than calm about it. As the day passed, the two of us stuck together. We watched enough Scooby-Doo cartoons in our youth to know that splitting up to cover more ground is the quickest way to get irreparably lost. That being said, it's not like sticking together did us any better. We kept wandering through the different departments, wondering if we passed that long-marked cabinet or that Coppang chest of drawers before. We walked until our legs ached, trying to stay strong for each other. It's impossible that we'd be trapped in here. Sure, I know that warehouses can be a little overcomplicated, but this is ridiculous. By the time the day ended, or at least by the time the store's lights turned off, we were able to find a Slatum queen-size bed to rest for the night. Maybe we'll be able to find our way out tomorrow. How long have we been in here? I checked the date on my phone. 72 hours. Though of course there's no internet or cell service in here. Naturally, Brenda and I get up when the lights turn on and start walking again. Surely anyone who walks for long enough has to find something, right? We both hold this hope in our hearts as we pass what feels like miles of cheap, flat-pack display furniture, wondering what on earth is going on. Sometimes we see figures moving in the distance. Part of me can't help but wonder if they're really there or if I'm just losing my mind in here. Difficult to say. It feels hyperbolic to even express this thought, but there's something oddly frightening about the things I see out of the corner of my eye. I start to get the sense that we're not alone in this strange place. And frighteningly, I don't know if not being alone in here is really such a good thing. At least we have each other in here. Oh God, things just got a lot worse. So, Brenda and I were walking down one of the many latticed aisles of the kitchenware department when the lights shut off. Thankfully, we'd picked up a pair of Friel rechargeable flashlights, so moving in the dark was no longer a deal breaker for us. Goody. Or at least that's what I thought, until we encountered something horrific in there. Look, Brenda said, pointing into the distance. It's a member of staff. I couldn't tell you why, but the second Brenda said that, a chill went down my spine. It was like the lingering after effects of some memory I couldn't recall. There was a silhouette in the distance, and in the beam of the flashlight, I could make out the faint colors of an IKEA staff member's uniform. I knew right there and then that it was time to get the hell out of there. But before I had a chance to say anything to Brenda, the so-called staff member had already closed the distance. It ran into the beam of our flashlights, its long, drooping arms and featureless face shining in the light. Instinctively, I threw myself into its path to protect Brenda. It forced me to the ground and began beating me with its fists, kept repeating in this kind of freakish, robotic voice, "The store is now closed. Please exit the building." If Brenda hadn't smashed it over the head with a Vatnot stainless steel kettle and beat it to a pulp on the ground, I would have been done for. So, now we know. There are monsters in here. Great. Food and water are becoming an issue. It's not something we've needed to address until now because of the healthy supply of snacks in Brenda's purse, but there's a hard limit to things like that. We realized we really needed to find food in this place or we'd be doomed. But after the encounter with that monster, we're moving cautiously. Who knows how many of them are still out there. We can't travel at night anymore. That'll keep us safe, but it won't do anything about our hunger situation. It's only a matter of time. Brenda's a genius. I don't know how I'd ever survive in this terrible place without her. I'd probably die on day one of my own. She remembered that no IKEA is complete without a little mini cafeteria where they serve a variety of Swedish dishes, including their famous IKEA meatballs. All we need to do in the otherwise sterile environment of the IKEA is follow the smell, until we found our way to sweet, meaty salvation. And that's exactly what we did. Eventually, this plan bore fruit, and we found our way to the cafeteria. I'd never been so happy to see crappy furniture store food. We both grabbed a bowl full of meatballs when suddenly, just before I could take a bite, I felt an overwhelming wave of nausea. Something about it felt so incredibly, unsettlingly familiar. What the hell was going on here? Another day, another near-death experience. Our hearts leaped up into our throats when we turned a corner and saw one of those faceless monsters just standing there in the next aisle. We were ready to either square up or run for the hills. But oddly, this time, it didn't even seem to register our presence. It was almost like, during the day, they didn't have the same aggressive nature to them. Curiouser and curiouser. Just like it said when it first attacked me, I think these things really only do attack when the store is closed. Guess that makes them lawful evil. God, I miss D&D. We're getting a little better at the whole freaky supernatural IKEA thing. Brenda figured if there are monsters out there, our best bet would be to arm up and protect ourselves. And hell, I'm not gonna disagree. We scavenged different parts of the store to make ourselves a mini IKEA armory, barred full meat tenderizers, Vorta chef's knives with Vorta meat cleavers from the same set. We also picked up some fractal rope and tarpaulin, and a pair of stylish Vardlins travel backpacks to carry all our new IKEA swag in addition to the food we've been keeping in the IKEA Pruta Tupperware packs. With the two of us together and all this equipment, I feel like we're ready for anything. In the following week, we discovered that we were not, in fact, ready for anything. While what we would later call the 8 Days of Hell started off rather pleasantly, the standard wandering, foraging, and sleeping, it ended in a no-holds-barred fight for our lives when the lights turned off unexpectedly while we were surrounded by maybe 20 members of demonic IKEA staff. Even with our weaponry, we couldn't fight many of them. Instead, we ran for our lives in the dark. That's when Brenda tripped over a carelessly discarded Lalabo 3-piece toy train set. I ran back to help her up, but they were already too close for us to make it out of there. Terrified, we hunkered down and waited to die in each other's arms. That's when a series of expertly placed gunshots rang out through the air, and the staff members collapsed onto the ground, each of their faceless heads perfectly perforated by a well-aimed bullet. We looked up to see the face of our savior, a strange man holding a rifle and a bulletproof vest, grinning wildly. "Come with me if you want to live," he said. And we did. So we did. When we woke up the next morning after practically passing out from the stress, Brenda and I saw that we'd been shepherded into a miniature makeshift campsite by our mysterious, well-armed Good Samaritan. He told us that his name was James, and he'd been trapped in what he referred to as the Infinite Ikea for weeks now. Thankfully, he had his trusty rifle with him, or he probably would have been killed by the staff long before now. We decided, out of politeness, to not ask him why he'd brought a rifle and a bulletproof vest into IKEA in the first place. We were just happy to be alive. We even gave him a few of our tubs of meatballs as thanks for the daring assist. James told us that there were others trapped in here, some of which have even made full settlements. With his weaponry and our supplies, we might even have a good chance of finding others out there, forming a group and getting out. And that sounded like a great idea to Brenda and I, so we were more than happy to tag along. Over the next 21 days, we explored more of the Infinite Ikea with James. It certainly felt safer with him around, being able to take on the staff at a distance rather than risk being overpowered and killed in a more traditional struggle. James is a really nice guy, if a little strange. During our 21-day period of searching for others, James killed a few different staff members during the night. For Brenda and I, killing off attacking staff members is a profound relief. But James, he seems to take an almost perverse pleasure in killing them. But we do what we can to overlook that fact. At the end of the day, even if he is a bit of a freaky gun nut, he's a valuable asset in a world like this. However, for days on end, our search for a camp was fruitless. There were supposedly a huge number of communities inside the Infinite Ikea, which often have their own unique cultures and hierarchies. It was hard to believe that all of this was actually happening. Was James just making it up and taking us for a ride? But even if he was just crazy, what other options did that leave us? We just had to keep going, but nothing would prepare us for the kind of madness we were about to face. At some point during our journey, when we were still searching for one of the supposed outposts hidden in the depths of the IKEA, we were ambushed, but not by the staff. No, it was a collection of human beings wielding knives and dressed in the staff's clothes, wearing their hollowed-out heads like masks. There were maybe 20 of them when they got the jump on us, surrounding us and neutralizing any advantage James's gun could have given us. These masked strangers identified themselves of a nomadic gang calling themselves the Sons of Vardagan. They'd come from an outpost that had since fallen, so at least we knew that James was right when he told us about the communities out there in the Ikea. And then something even stranger happened. One of the Sons of Vardagan pointed at me and said he recognized me. I said that was impossible, and that I'd never seen him before in my life. He brandished his knife and started getting in my face, claiming I was lying. That's when Brenda stepped forward to defend me, telling him to step off. As wonderful as her intention was, this just made things worse. A few other members of the Sons of Vardagan began ganging up on her, and that I simply couldn't abide. Without even thinking, I threw an impulsive punch, laying out one of the goons. That turned all heads my way and gave James an opportunity to take his chance. He turned his rifle towards some of them and opened fire, killing several of them and scattering the rest. Maybe we were better at this whole survival thing than we thought. Over the next couple of weeks, we continued our search, our confidence bolstered by our win against the Sons of Vardagan. We made occasional stops, searching out cafeterias to refuel our meatball supply. You need protein in the Infinite Ikea. At some point during the journey, James asked Brenda and me a strange question. Have you ever heard of the SCP Foundation? While neither of us could answer that question, there was a strange, faint memory of that name. Was it some kind of charity? Maybe a government thing? I don't know. But something about it, just like so many other elements of this impossible situation, is eerily familiar to me. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. And it frightens me. 68 days into our confinement, we found something horrifying. One of the camps that James had alluded to earlier, or at least what was left of it. The walls were broken down and the courtyard area of this makeshift community was littered with corpses. Brenda and I were horrified by the sight of what seemed like some kind of massacre. James just strode forward into the camp, observing the aftermath of some unknown carnage. Looks like we got here too late, he said. Shame, a real shame. James advised us to collect any resources worth taking from the ransacked camp and moving on. No point crying over people we never even knew. But looking at the bodies, part of me felt as though I had known these people once, perhaps in another life. I got closer to one of these deja vu-inducing bodies and noticed something strange. The body had gunshot wounds. Over the next 4 days, a nightmare erupted. After discovering the massacre at the camp, I came to realize that James couldn't be trusted. He was dangerous and unstable, and I had every reason to believe he was the one behind all those killings. I relayed these facts to Brenda and told her that we needed to get away from him as quickly as possible. But when we attempted to escape, he caught us and held us at gunpoint. He seemed intent on killing both of us. He was bigger, stronger, and better armed than the two of us, so all I could do was distract him and hope for an opportunity to turn the tables. I asked him who he really was and why he was here. So, figuring he had nothing to lose, he told us. Once upon a time, he had been a mobile task force operative, kind of a special ops guy for that SCP Foundation group. He'd been one of the best, but after he horrendously botched a mission, including intentionally murdering many civilians over the course of his career, just for fun, he'd been demoted to D Class, which, to the best of my knowledge, seems to be a human guinea pigs this SCP Foundation used for cruel experimentation. One of the experiments they used him for was apparently this very location, the Infinite Ikea. He'd been in here for a long time now, with guns and ammo he'd stolen from other Foundation operatives that had been trapped in here. In a sense, he loved it in here. He got to do his favorite thing of all, killing people with nothing to stop him. And now he was going to do it to us. I hugged Brenda tight. I was sure this would be our last moments. James leveled the barrel of his rifle at us and prepared to fire, when two figures emerged from the darkness behind him, wielding knives and hammers. It was a woman and a large man. They lunged at James and struck him again and again and again, until he collapsed to the ground, bleeding, dying, gone. These two people then looked up at me with a sense of recognition and amazement. And at that moment, I realized that I recognized them too. They were Vicky and Barry. I knew them. I'd been here before. Over the next several days, it all came back to me. The 100 days I'd spent in the Infinite Ikea before. Well, going on 200 days now. The friends I'd made and lost. The strength I'd gained, I'd never been kidnapped. That had just been a cover story formulated by the same SCP Foundation that produced that gun-toting maniac James. Brenda was amazed to hear all this, and I was both amazed and delighted to see that Vicky and Barry had survived. We believed that Barry had died after leading the staff away from the encampment, but as it turns out, some people are just too badass to kill. My memories were hitting me like a high-pressure fire hose now, washing away the cobwebs and giving me a kind of clarity that I hadn't known in an entire year. And in that glorious moment, I remembered I'd gotten out of here before. I could get us all out of here again. The route was somewhere inside me. I just needed to follow it. Day 200. I remembered somewhere deep down that I needed to keep moving. I led Brenda, Vicky, and Barry behind me. They trusted me, and their trust would be rewarded. Step after step, hour after hour, until eventually we arrived. Light filtered through the glass double doors. A smile spread across my face. Our breath quickened. Barry began to tear up. After all this time, we'd finally found our way out. We officially survived 200 days in Ikea. As we stepped closer, the automatic doors opened, as though it was congratulating us. We held hands and stepped out into the light together. Now go check out how to actually beat SCP-3008 the Infinite Ikea and surviving inside SCP-3008 the Infinite Ikea for more adventures from the scariest furniture store in the multiverse.